Hey y'all. So I got some time after I finish my assignment and I'm getting ready to get into studying, but I'm like, let me get on here and say hi to the folks, to the peepas. Yes. How y'all doing? What's up? Me, I'm just working hard. I'm just working hard, man. So I'm trying to get accustomed with just talking into the camera like I normally do, because I be just like venting out loud. And I decided to just start recording some of this stuff. So, yeah. Hold on one second. Yeah, so, um, what's going on, y'all? I got this mic on here because for some reason my MacBook wasn't recording. So I had to um, had to use my phone to do some recording. Um, but I'm like, let me see if I can get some content for my channel that's not live, because I don't like recording, but I feel like having all the content be um, live is, I don't really care for channels that operate in that fashion. So why would I have my own channel operate that way? So yeah, I'm so tired, y'all, but I can't even go to sleep because I have to study. I have some very important exams next week. And so hopefully y'all can hear me. I did buy a mic. As you can see. Y'all like it? Um, I don't really like watch my videos back on the playback because I don't care. Once it's out, it's out. But um, I'm hoping that it's getting. Is that distracting? That little thing. I know some people have sensory perception issues, and I'm not trying to have anybody seize up on that on my account. But um, lately I've been struggling with when is God gonna release me from isolation? Um, it's to the point where like I will cut people off. I mean, normally it's because they have committed some offense against me or just did something that just rubbed me the wrong way. But all my 35 and up folks know. You just start losing patience for certain stuff. I feel like after a certain age, people should pretty much know how to act, and I'm not going to try to change anybody. I don't want anybody trying to change me, so I'll just move right along. And I noticed that since this isolation began, which wasn't really intentional, it was just me kind of cleaning my life up, trying to start anew, trying to start fresh. Uh, the more I delineate from that, and I'm starting to want more, just want to talk to somebody other than myself and God and my kid sometimes. Um, I feel like I will notice things about people quicker, and I don't know. I have to pray about it, but I don't know if that's because I've given so many people so many chances that I kind of just don't have the stomach for that, or is it like a trauma response, or because if you're not constantly questioning these things, you might be a narcissist. Or if you're not questioning yourself internally, are you making the right choices and moves? And, when it comes to everything, including interpersonal relationships or personal relationships, you got to check in. You got to police yourself. You got to check in with God, and so but yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm starting to lean more towards, okay, I feel like this isolation time is up. If I'm, because if that's like my higher self and spirit and God telling me like, no, you're not ready, so naturally I'm just not in the mood. But yeah, I miss looking at my phone and seeing texts. I don't get no texts. I don't have notifications because I deleted all my social media a couple years ago. Literally my main sole purpose and goal in life is to complete these degrees and move on. I want to move abroad. I feel like burnt out with the whole American thing. I was born here, but it's been a while since I took a trip. It's been a while since I've been out of the country, and I just feel like that will be my reward to myself once I walk across that stage and get my degrees, y'all. But nothing is stopping me. Nothing is stopping me. There's little stuff that gets in the way here or there for the people who like to swear that there's no such thing as racism anymore. Get real. Try to see other people's perspectives and way of life that are not your own, because I can tell you it's very much still here, and that's part of the exhausting thing too. Living in a culturally non-diverse town, but being a black woman, it gets tiring. Always having to educate people who just refuse to see anybody's side other than their own. So, somebody called my daughter the N-word, and so I had to stop what I was doing to go address that for the second time at the same school. But the gag is, y'all, I was already getting ready to talk to them. I was already in the process of, trying to figure out why for the entire month of February, not one single thing about Black History Month was mentioned. And so I was in the process of, trying to figure that out after talking it over with my daughter, and she, expressed the sentiment of, that's not being done. And then I literally find out that somebody wrote her name and that she was an N-word in the bathroom. And the fact that we still have to go through stuff like that in 2026 is like, I feel like I know what it is. I feel like sometimes negative energy, if they know they can't penetrate you, they will try to penetrate the ones that are around you to try to sow discourse in your life by any means necessary. And I feel like that's what's happening. Like, it's just demons trying to attack me using my family, or through my family. So I kind of have to address that stuff, and that's tiring and exhausting because March rolls around, March 17th, and there's the halls are decked, okay, with celebratory St. Patty's Day related projects, I guess you would say, that the students did themselves. And I only saw it because I went to a parent-teacher conference. And I'm like, y'all the same ones that didn't even mention Black History Month, and y'all celebrating St. Patrick's Day, which is not even a federally recognized holiday. But you had 28 days in the month of February. So I talked to the principal, and I was upset because, like I said, this is not the first incident at the school. And then after talking with the teachers, I found out that, they give you the whole same song and dance. Oh, there's a particular set of material that we are mandated or allowed to cover in this district. And that's fine, but is St. Patty's Day celebrations a mandated? I don't think it is. And when I asked, it was like the principal was kind of throwing the buck, passing me off to at least that's how I felt initially, was passing me off to the teachers, and the teachers were blaming it on the district. So I emailed I guess you would call him the superintendent for the district that my daughter attends, and I emailed him on Monday. And so today I'm off. Well, I didn't have class today, and I just like, you know what, let me see. And I looked it up, and I saw that it was only minutes away from my house. I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready to go over there. And literally, as I was getting in the car, I'm praying to God. I'm like, God, please, I don't want to have to go up in here and raise my voice to support my child. But I will do that if necessary. But I would prefer if you could just have this man call me back so we can get this settled. And he finally reached out to me today. Let me turn that off, y'all, because that's getting on my nerves. Sorry about that. So yeah, he called me back today, and we had a very nice conversation. I did express to him how I felt like, I felt like the principal wasn't really, I don't want to say he wasn't concerned. I felt like he didn't have enough invested or interest. He didn't have enough investment or interest into how we were going to prevent this from happening in the future. Because I told him, like, this is not the first time this happened. And the first time I did have to address that young man myself, just nip it in the bud. And then I did notify the school of the actions that I took, just in case it came to, well, she said this, and I wanted them to know that I did address him and exactly what I said. And they did, to their credit, I will give them that, they did suspend the guy. And to his credit, the superintendent did mention that, he has a zero tolerance policy, and that he has been known to expel students for that. He has, and I've heard that expressed before, but he had no answers for why there was a celebration for a false pagan holiday over the recognition of Americans, because that's what it is. No matter how hard this administration tries to diminish and minimize the contributions and the status of Black Americans, we're not going to allow that. So, but yeah, like, he had no explanation other than to say, the teachers did that on their own, the St. Patty's Day stuff. And I did speak with the principal, And I can assure you that he was very supportive. He did express that he agreed with everything that you said. And that's fine. Agreement is fine, right? And that's fine. But my whole thing is, bullying is very prevalent. It's not like when I was a kid. And I literally told him, I was like, I was brought up to whoop ass. Like, I was instructed to whoop ass if ever anybody played with me like that. And I'm not encouraging violence, but you guys are leaving these kids no recourse. I said, and I could see if this was an isolated incident, but I spoke to the teacher and she literally told me that there are several other black students who are being racially harassed. So first, I just want to, if anybody's watching this video and you have children who are white, and not black, or just a minority, because anybody can get it in this country who's not white, and they do get it. But I would suggest that you just look at other people's perspective. Like I told the principal, I don't know if you have kids or not, but you will never, as a white male, so I'm sure his kids is white. I mean, I could be wrong. But even still, you will never be able to understand how me, somebody that is a veteran, that literally got on that damn plane, not knowing if I was going to come back, literally risked my life for this country and for the freedoms and for the lies, right? Only to have some poorly educated, poor economically, poor mentally, morally poor. I will not have someone like that making me or my family or my child feel uncomfortable. We're not doing it. And then he said, I'm not from here, but I have been here for a while. I came here about 11 years ago. I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, but I can just tell you that the parents don't think about it. And that's interesting when people say that, because it's like, if they don't think about it, where the hell are the kids getting the boldness and just the gall to come to school and say that? If it's not discussed in your home, they just randomly popped out one day and say, yeah, I'm going to write so-and-so's a nigger in the bathroom because they're black. That comes from somewhere. And whether the parents whether you guys are directly responsible for pumping that crap into your kid, or whether you are guilty by proxy because you didn't stop people who are encouraging your child to participate in that type of behavior, or because you're not monitoring them enough, or because you're not talking to them enough, you're not educating them enough, you're not teaching them manners and decorum, and teaching them how to be, citizens in public. You will never know how upsetting and angry that makes certain people, me included. So, I always have the saying, get your kid before I have to. Check your kid before a stranger has to. Because if I got to check your child over thinking that they get ready to disparage mine or make mine feel uncomfortable or insecure, I'm going to check them the right way, the way you should have did it the first time. Because, like I said, kids don't just wake up and then just plot and say, oh, no. That was something they thought about. That was something that they discussed with somebody. They expressed those sentiments. So, you don't get that option to just not care, because it's not the minority kids coming in and racially bullying the white kids. It's always the other way around. And that's just so weird to me because for those who don't know, my kid is in middle school. So for kids that young to have that type of mentality already, that tells me that was instilled in them. It was ingrained in them. Probably for a while. And it needs to be checked. And so, and like I said, I told him, I said, yeah, they don't get that luxury to just not police their own kids or not raise their kids properly, because then that is infringing upon me, and I got to take off of school to come address something that I shouldn't even need to address that type of stuff in 2026. What are we doing? But you will literally have people arguing with you to the moon and back that racism is no longer exist in this country. I don't know why black people always pulling the race card. Yeah, we pull it because y'all keep freaking dealing it, and we're tired. We're tired. They like to say black fatigue. I want people to understand that it's white fatigue too, because those are the ones who are going out You don't see. I mean, I grew up in an all-black neighborhood for a while. And we had a white kid in our school, a white girl, one. Just one. And I recall, kids trying her because she was the only white kid. And I do recall a lot of us sticking up for her, me in particular. Her name was Barbara. If you watching this, Barbara, she knows. Because I already grew up knowing that, that's not cool, that's not right. So I don't understand why people can't teach their kids that that's inappropriate. And even if that's how you feel, you need to teach them to not express that publicly. And if you can't do that, then you need to cough up $93,000 or however much private school cost. And because he was giving me pushback, I said, so what are we going to do to address this to make sure it doesn't happen in the future? And he said, well, they're implementing some things that probably, won't be taking effect until probably next year. But I just want you to know that we are implementing some things. So you don't have a plan. Well, you have a plan, but you haven't enacted it yet, even though prior to us even getting here, there have been kids being racially bullied, as you just admitted. And you don't think not mentioning anything about black history is important. That's very telling. So the teacher couldn't deny, the principal couldn't deny the St. Patty's Day stuff because I took a picture. And I also told my daughter that if it happens again, to just take pictures immediately, because there's going to be some type of accountability, whether it be from the parents, and that's the issue. And like he said, I can't enforce the rules on somebody that I don't even know who it is. We don't know who wrote it. What are we doing to prevent somebody from writing it again? I said, I'm not concerned with what happened already. Excuse me. I'm not concerned with, the situation right now. I'm concerned that this is becoming a pattern. This is the second time I said, and third time's a charm. And the same way you said you're zero tolerance for that, I'm zero tolerance when it comes to my child. I'm not accepting that. I'm not having that. So we need to be implementing some things, some changes. And so he did mention that they had some changes. I didn't go into detail, but I do plan on following up. I am a very strong advocate for reaching out to congressmen, congresswomen. I was just telling my daughter, I'm like, every time I have an issue, I literally contact the congressman, congresswoman, and it gets taken care of. And there are certain people who I would like to highlight specifically, but then that would give away my location. And I know people probably Google and do all that stuff behind the scenes, but I'd rather not make it easy for them. But yeah, man, it's just life. I really wish, there were different things to talk about in 2026. But apparently, some advocates for white supremacy and ethnic cleansing, they like to preach that rhetoric, and I feel like maybe one of the parents specifically told them to target my daughter because, like I said, they won't say it to me. The parents won't say it to me. They're gonna they're gonna get the kids involved because they're cowardly. They can't say nothing like that to my face, so they're gonna use their kid to do it anonymously. And I said, I don't care. I will literally hire a private investigator to do handwriting analysis to figure out who the hell this is, because I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it. And I do, like, people say, oh, well, we get tired of hearing, and I always tell them, like, imagine how you feel. I'm still dealing with this shit. That my great grandparents, who, by the way, were born, lived, and died on this American soil, I'm still dealing with issues that they had to deal with. And I make sure, black parents, if you're watching this, you have to make sure that you explain to your kid that at some point or other, it's unfortunate that it had to be now in these circumstances, but this was a topic that was going to have to come up anyway, because as a black American, I don't have the luxury of not having to give my daughter that whole race talk like white Americans do. They have that luxury of just not thinking about it. It's not even on their radar. But I have no choice to face it and deal with it. And when I have to deal with it, I'm going to deal with it appropriately, and I'm not going to let it go. I know he was surprised. I was like, oh yeah, I'm literally in the car driving to your office, so thank you so much for calling, because I was trying to figure out why I didn't get a response. And, I do feel bad because he mentioned, some personal things, health issues that a family member was having. And I realized after I hung up the phone, I was like, dang, I didn't even say, I hope your family member gets better. But, you know how people say, like, when there's karma in your life that you try not to deal with, the universe will find a way to get you to look at that issue and deal with that issue. Like, you're going to deal with it one way or the other. And I feel like this is what's happening here, because I went through this whole thing where we moved from an all black neighborhood, mostly black and Latino, and some Caribbean folk and Africans. But like I said, there was one white girl at our school. So and we moved to a predominantly white area, and I did once we got the kids straightened out to let them know we weren't the ones that they were going to play with, then the teachers started doing weird stuff. I'm not lying. The teachers were like literally trying to get me taken out of that school because I was not afraid to speak up for myself. And there's a teacher, I still remember her name. I will never forget, like, my first week in her class, she decided to tell this story about in the 1950s or 60s, she had a neighbor, and his name was Mr. White, but he was black. And her dad's name was Mr. Black, but he was white. And, she tells a story about how the Klan came to literally drag Mr. White out of his home, covered in sheets like the cowards that they are. And, the lit tiki torches and all the bells and whistles. But as she's telling this story, and she already stated that Mr. White was a family friend, she's laughing. And so I literally just was like, what the fuck is so funny? In front of the whole class, I'm like, why are you laughing? I'm not understanding what part of this story is humorous. And then she did what, those people do, turn it back around. And somehow the child is at fault now because she's calling you out because you're being wildly racist and unprofessional right now. And lackadaisical about a painful time in our history. And these are the people who will say, yeah, I don't think that Black history should be taught in school. So what is the alternative? Your kids continue to be ignorant. You continue to send them to school, and you continue to be ignorant, and you continue to participate in the systemic racism and all the bells and whistles that come with that. And I'm just supposed to what? Be quiet and take it? I don't think so. And I will never forget, there was one Black employee at the school. I tell this story all the time because now I'm having to deal with it. And at the time, I wanted my mom to get more involved. I wanted her to be able to stick up for me. I wanted her to have my back. And, not to disparage her or say anything against her, but I just feel like she was so busy with working and trying to take care of us at that point that she just didn't have the energy to fight back as a single mother. And that's what I really think when my teachers and her administrators see me. I think they think that I'm just going to be like mendable to their way of doing things, and I'm just going to conform. And we don't have that big mouth East Coast ruckus over here. Black people speaking up for themselves and all. They expect me to just be quiet, and then they're shocked when I'm like, no, I'm not going to be quiet. In fact, I'm going to call you once a week for the next 6 months until this is addressed. The same way that I was infringed upon, and my child was infringed upon, is the same way I'm infringed upon your ass. And that's what I believe. That's how I feel we should deal with these racists and these Trumpers and these maggots. I feel like we should just start meeting them where they are and giving them that same energy that they put out. Because they love to guilt trip Democrats. Oh, you don't feel bad that Charlie Kirk was unalived? No, I do not. Because that same person sat up there and said that minorities and people who are not white are, seeing people in positions like pilots. He will automatically question whether or not they were qualified for the position. And as someone who works hard in life for everything that I get, everything that I've gotten, I'm never going to look past that. And I'm never going to look past that because there are millions of Charlie Kirks in this country. It's unfortunate that he was taken out of here untimely. But it was his own folks that did it in Israel, if you ask me. The same people that the American government is working with to take rights from minorities and to disparage minorities, but they're the ones who cry that, the Holocaust, it's a special hate that mutates. That's anti-Semitism. What the hell are you talking about? Making stuff up as you go. We're not doing that. Especially when you refuse to acknowledge that in 2026, there are still Black people and Black students who are still being racially bullied simply because of something that they cannot change, such as their skin color. So no, I'm going to give people, I'll be right underneath the comments like, whenever I see white on white crime, husbands unaliving wives, the Dateline special, I'll be right under there like, oh, where's Julia Michaels? Why isn't she addressing this white on white crime? She seems to be so focused on black crime. Why isn't she focused on this? This is a tragedy. So yeah, I believe in giving people the same energy that they give you. I'm not going to absorb it. If you think you're going to give me that energy and I'm just going to take it and accept it, that's not what's going to happen. I'm going to wrap it right back up and push that shit right in your direction. Every time. So, then I told my daughter, I'm like, yeah, it's just one of them things where I have to. Because I'm not only sticking up for you, I'm sticking up for those other black kids whose parents don't have enough energy because they're tired of this stuff happening. I have all the energy for this stuff. So, I don't care whose house I gotta go, door I gotta go knock on. I don't care what attorney I have to see. I'm suing parents and everything. Parents, school districts, if this don't get straightened out. I'm not just gonna sweep it under the rug. Sorry. So, and that's why they hate seeing us in their communities, because they're like, damn, I can't be racist in peace. So yeah, guys, I'm tired. I'm getting ready to study, and I'll talk to y'all later.